Damian Cross had not smiled in 5 years. As the Alpha King of Blackthorn, he ruled the largest wolf kingdom in the north, with a steady hand and a closed heart. His people respected him. Many feared him. Almost no one remembered the man he used to be, back when Elena Marsh walked beside him and made him laugh like nothing in the world could ever go wrong. That man had died the same night Elena did. 5 years ago, on the eve of their formal mating ceremony, an enemy pack attacked the eastern border house where Elena was staying. Fire swallowed the building before Damian's guards could reach it. He arrived to find only smoke, ash, and silence. They told him there was nothing left to save. He had believed it every day since. Now he sat on his throne in the great hall of Blackthorn, half listening to the daily matters of his kingdom, his mind far away, as it always was, council meetings. Border disputes, marriage proposals from noble families he refused without a second thought. Nothing moved him anymore, until the day the court clerk announced a custody case that would change everything. "Your Majesty," the clerk said, bowing low, "a guardianship dispute has been escalated to the royal court. The child's parentage is unclear, and 2 families are fighting for custody. The royal seal is required to settle it." Damian sighed. Custody cases were beneath a king, but tradition demanded his presence when bloodlines were in question, since only an Alpha King could confirm a child's wolf status through the old blood bond ritual. He waved a tired hand. "Bring them in." The doors of the great hall opened, and a small procession entered. 2 feuding relatives walked in first, arguing under their breath. Behind them came an older woman, a guardian, holding the hand of a little girl. The moment Damian saw the child, something inside him went very still. She was small, maybe 5 years old, with dark hair streaked faintly silver at the front, just like his own mother's had been. Her eyes were sharp, clear, and gold brown, a color so familiar it made his chest tighten before his mind could explain why. He told himself it was nothing, coincidence, grief playing tricks on him, the way it sometimes still did. The guardian bowed. "Your Majesty, this is Lily. Her mother passed away 2 months ago from a long illness. Before she died, she asked that Lily be brought before the royal court to determine her rightful place and her true family." The 2 relatives began speaking over each other, each insisting they deserved custody, each listing reasons the other family could not be trusted. Damian barely heard them. His eyes stayed on the little girl, who stood quietly beside the guardian, watching the tall stone hall with wide, curious eyes, unafraid in a room that made grown wolves lower their voices. Then she looked up. She looked straight at him. And she smiled. Before the guardian could stop her, before anyone in the hall could react, the little girl let go of the woman's hand and ran, not away from the throne, the way most children did when they first saw the Alpha King, toward it. She ran up the steps, ignored the startled guards, and threw her small arms around Damian's leg. "Father," she said, clear and certain, as if she had said the word 100 times before, even though she was meeting him for the very first time. The great hall went completely silent. Damian looked down at the child holding on to him, like she had known him her whole life, and for the first time in 5 years, his careful control cracked. His hands, usually so steady, trembled as he knelt down to her level. "What did you say?" he asked quietly. "Father," Lily repeated, tilting her head, confused by his reaction. "Mama said I would find you. She said you would know me." Whispers spread through the hall like wind through dry grass. The council members exchanged uneasy glances. One of the feuding relatives opened his mouth to object, but the head of the court council, an old wolf named Councillor Wren, raised a hand for silence. "Your Majesty," Wren said carefully, "given the seriousness of this claim, I recommend we proceed with the blood bond ritual immediately, before the court and all witnesses present." Damian did not answer right away. He was still looking at Lily's face, searching it feature by feature, finding pieces of himself and pieces of someone else, someone he had spent 5 years trying not to think about. "Do it," he said at last, his voice rough. "Now." The ritual was old and simple. A single drop of blood from the child, a single drop from the man who might be her father, placed together on a ritual stone that glowed gold if the bond was true and stayed dark if it was false. The court held its breath as the 2 drops touched the stone. Gold light spread across the surface, bright and unmistakable, filling the hall with a warm glow that reflected in Lily's wide eyes and in the tears that had begun to fall silently down Damien's face, tears he did not try to hide. She was his daughter. "How?" he whispered, more to himself than to anyone else. "Elena died. I watched the house burn. There was nothing left." The guardian stepped forward, her expression heavy with things she had carried alone for a long time. "Your Majesty, may I speak freely?" Damien nodded, still holding Lily's small hand as if letting go might make her disappear. "Elena did not die that night," the guardian said. "She survived the fire, badly hurt, and something else happened to her, something dark, a curse, placed on her during the attack that erased the mate bond between you both. It hid her scent, her presence, everything that connected her to you as her true mate. She said she tried, more than once, to find her way back to Blackthorn, but the curse made it impossible. Every time she got close, it was as if an invisible wall pushed her away." Damien's jaw tightened. "Why did no one tell me she was alive?" "She did not want anyone to know," the guardian answered gently. "She was afraid. Whoever attacked the border house wanted your bloodline gone completely. Elena believed that if the enemy ever learned she survived, or that she carried your child, they would finish what they started, and take Lily from her too. So she disappeared. She changed her name. She raised Lily far from Blackthorn, in silence, protecting her the only way she knew how." "For 5 years," Damien said quietly. "For 5 years," the guardian confirmed. "She never stopped loving you, Your Majesty. She spoke of you every night before Lily fell asleep. She kept a portrait of you hidden beneath the floorboards of every home we ever stayed in, because she was too afraid to hang it on a wall. When she grew sick, and knew she would not recover, her last request was that Lily be brought here, to you, no matter what it cost." Damien closed his eyes. 5 years of a cold, empty throne. 5 years of believing the woman he loved had died screaming in a fire, when really, she had spent every one of those years alone, frightened, and still loving him from a distance she could never cross. The grief was old, but it struck him fresh, sharp as the night it first happened. And yet, kneeling there, with his daughter's small hand in his, he understood something else too. Elena had not simply died and left him nothing. She had survived long enough to give him something no curse could ever erase. Counselor Wren cleared his throat carefully. "Your Majesty, if the girl is confirmed as your true daughter and heir, custody falls automatically to the crown. The dispute is resolved. However, there remains the matter of whoever placed the curse on Lady Elena, and whoever ordered the attack on the border house 5 years ago. If such a person still sits within our council or our territory, they must be found." Damien rose to his feet, lifting Lily into his arms without thinking, the way a father does instinctively, even after years apart. His voice, when it came, was no longer the voice of a grieving man. It was the voice of a king. "Then we will find them," he said. "I want every guard who was on duty that night questioned again. I want the fire investigated with fresh eyes. Someone planned that attack knowing exactly where Elena would be, knowing it was the night before our mating ceremony. That is not the work of an outside enemy. That is the work of someone who had access to our plans." A tense silence fell over the hall. Several council members shifted uncomfortably. It took 3 days of careful investigation, testimony, and old records, finally re-examined, but the truth came out. One of the senior council members, a wolf named Voss who had long resented Damien's rule and hoped to claim influence over the throne through a puppet heir of his own choosing, had orchestrated the attack. He had hired the outside pack to strike the border house, and had personally arranged for the curse to be placed on Elena, hoping to erase any trace of Damien's true bloodline so that, in time, he could push forward a candidate of his own for the succession. When confronted before the court, Voss tried to deny it, but the same blood bond magic that had confirmed Lily's parentage was used again, this time to trace the curse back to its source. The magic did not lie. Voss was stripped of his rank and exiled from Blackthorn territory, forbidden from ever returning. Justice, at least, had been served. But it did not bring Elena back. Damien understood that clearly, and he did not pretend otherwise, not even to himself. There would be no reunion, no second chance at the mating ceremony they never had. That loss was permanent, and no court ruling or exposed traitor could undo it. Grief like that did not disappear. It simply changed shape. What he had instead was a small girl with silver-streaked hair and steady golden eyes, who had walked into a room full of strangers and known, somehow, exactly who her father was. In the weeks that followed, Damien did something no Alpha King of Blackthorn had ever done before. He held a public ceremony, not to celebrate a victory or a new law, but to honor Elena Marsh by name, restoring her rank and her place in the kingdom's history, even though she was no longer alive to receive it. He spoke of her courage, of the years she had spent alone protecting their daughter, and of the love that had somehow survived a curse designed to erase it completely. The kingdom, who had only ever known their king as cold and distant, watched him kneel in front of his own people to honor a lost mate and welcome a found daughter. Something shifted after that. Wolves who had feared him began to see him differently, not as an untouchable ruler, but as someone who had suffered greatly and still chosen to keep his heart open, for Lily's sake if nothing else. Lily grew up in the palace, surrounded by guards who adored her, and a father who never again went a day without smiling at least once. The old guardian who had raised her alongside Elena stayed on as part of the household, refusing to be parted from the child she had helped protect for so long, and Damien welcomed her presence gladly, grateful to have someone who had known Elena in those hidden years. Sometimes, late at night, Damien would sit by Lily's window while she slept and think of Elena, of the portrait she had kept hidden under floorboards in house after house, waiting for a day she never got to see. He liked to believe that somewhere, she knew her daughter had made it home. He liked to believe that when Lily had run across that courtroom and reached for him without hesitation, some small part of Elena had guided her there. He had spent 5 years ruling a kingdom without a heart, convinced that everything good in his life had burned away in a single terrible night. He had been wrong. Elena had not left him with nothing. She had left him a daughter who called him father before an entire court, and in doing so, gave him back a reason to live, one small hand at a time.